Okay, on to the front porch. I found these letters at Walmart. They were $1.99 USA, just giant like MDF letters. And we're going to make a giant porch sitter sign for the front of my house for the 4th of July. I love this piece. Now, the wood I got at Home Depot, they were called bed slats. They are 1x4s and they're already pre-cut, so they're 39 inches long, which is perfect for what I needed for the front of my home. I'm going to sit it on a little table next to my front door. They're in pretty good shape. They just required just a very light sanding, and they were like $3.76 when I bought them there at Home Depot a piece for those. Now, these are the secrets to building this today. I got these at the Home Depot as well. They're actually called wood joiners, and they're like these little metal prongs that you can use for construction purposes like this. And your girl is not a carpenter. So these were very useful. As you can see, I just put the two boards together, and I am just hammering those in the back. That way I don't have to use really any wood glue or anything like that. And it's going to hold up to the weather. I don't have to worry about hot glue or something like that. So I just did that all the way down, trying to get rid of any bowing and gaps with that if I can, because I kind of want this to be one piece that we can then DIY. Now, you guys like it when I include my mistakes, right? Okay. So I start laying out my painter's tape, and I'm just using Dollar Tree painter's tape. I'm using little pieces of the tape itself to do stripes, but I kind of messed up here. I just started on the sides, not thinking anything about it. And then I was going to go in with some candy apple red, and I wanted to create a red stain for the stripes. Where I messed up was how I taped it, because it's not going to really look like a flag with the red stripes in the middle. I should have done them on the sides, but I'm still going to show you because you guys like it, because, you know, we all have our craft fails, right? So I mixed that candy apple red paint with water to make a stain, and then using a Dollar Tree roller, because it's such a big project, I stained the red lines on there. And then I'm just going to go back and use the same painter's tape that we used before and reuse it over the top of our strained lines. And then I thought I would do the same exact thing for white. I would take some white acrylic paint, mix it half and half with water, and kind of whitewash this because I wanted like a coastal beachy 4th of July sign. I wanted some of that great wood grain to still shine through. Now, with the white, maybe because I used, I think, Dollar Tree paint, it was already kind of too watered down. I kind of still had to keep adding more and more paint. But I'm going ahead to include this because it did look cool, but it kind of looked like a carnival sign to me when I peel it off. See, that doesn't look patriotic at all. I was so disappointed. And so I was like, okay, yeah, I'm not going to be able to salvage this. We're going to start from scratch. So I go over the entire thing. I've made it too far in this process. We're going to have a porch sitter sign, right? And I'm using some ivory chalk paint to cover it all up. So I'm not really going to be able to stain it because we already did and I didn't like it. But just going to try to disguise it, and we can start from scratch, and I can just paint flag lines on and all will be well. But always got to include my fails because, hey, sometimes you just don't think when you're doing stuff like that. I just didn't think when I was laying out my tape for sure on that. So it did take quite a few coats of chalk paint to cover up my red stain, but I think I finally got it. So now it's already got the ivory, right? So that will be great for a stripe. While I have that, I'm going to go ahead and paint my USA letters that. I want these to have like a star or starfish design on those. And I'm going to kind of use stickers for that. And so I kind of wanted a white background to do some stars. Now, they also are rather thick, right? So I do go around the edges, kind of priming the entire letter with white, just so you don't have any of that just dripping over the edges. But you know, those rollers from the Dollar Tree actually work quite well, especially when you're working on a big project like this. But for the sides of the letters, you're definitely going to have to get in there with a foam brush. And I love this porch sitter. I DIY'd this 2 years ago, and I'm still using it. It's held up great, and it's beautiful. So now, lesson learned. I want stripes on the outside, and I want more stripes because that 2-stripe thing was just not cutting it. So I switched to a thinner painter's tape, made sure my stripe was on the outside this time. I'm using that tape as spacers and doing a much thinner flag stripe because I want you to be able to tell that this is supposed to be a flag, right? Not a carnival sign. And this end is going to have to be white, but I think it's going to be okay because we're going to have all 5 of these stripes, right? So now I'm going over the whole thing that I've got it taped off with a roller and some of that candy apple red acrylic paint until I get a good coat on there. Some nice red and white stripes. I hope, right? And I liked it much better this time. I do go over it with a couple of coats because this is going to be outside in the weather, and I want to make sure that it holds up. Just peeling off. This painter's tape was actually my good painter's tape 3M, but it did actually bleed a little bit here and there. But again, coastal farmhouse, it's forgiving. We can always touch it up a little bit if we need to. And that looks way more like flag stripes to me than it did before. So I'm happy with the redo, but it probably took me 3 times as much time, right? Now for the stars. I'm just using some green vinyl. This is from the Dollar Tree just to create some stars so we can do a star pattern on these. Now, I don't know why I did it this way, but what I did was I just cut out stars. They're actually starfish, but they're so small. I don't think anybody knows, but you know me. I was trying to be extra. And so I just made a whole bunch of star stickers, but you could do this with Dollar Tree stars as well. Now, looking back, there's a much easier way I could have done this. I could have just painted them blue and then made a stencil and painted the white stars on that way. But I don't know. I don't know why I did it this way because it's definitely more time consuming. But I was able to kind of wrap the starfish around the sides of the letters and make it look really cool. But I just had to keep making starfish and putting those all over because I wanted to have white stars and I want to be able to paint the letters blue. But this was probably way more work than it needed to be, right? Rookie moves. But hey, at least it turned out cute, right? And I was trying to show you, these really are starfish, right? Now for the blue color, I'm going to use Agave, this light blue chalk paint. It's a Waverly chalk paint from Walmart. And just going all over our blue letters with that. And with our beautiful star pattern on there. I guess another way I could have made them, well, that wouldn't really hold up outside. I was going to say that I could have painted the stickers white or did a white vinyl, but that would definitely peel off in the Florida sun. So hand painted for durability for sure. So I got those all painted that beachy blue color. That's going to be my stars, my USA letters. And then the other part that was a lot of work was just weeding all of those little stickers that we made off. In the end, I guess it was worth it because I think they turned out like really cool. I do go in and paint the sides of the letter that agave color as well. That I had kind of primed white earlier. And I guess all the hard work was worth it because look at all these beautiful little starfish all over my USA letters. Sometimes when a project is this much work, you hope it lasts forever, right? And we did a pretty good job putting this together, so hopefully it will. The only problem I've had is I think I added starfish with hot glue on this one. Probably should have used a little bit of a stronger glue, which I have, hence went back forth and done. So we have our USA letters. I do want to distress them a little bit to give them that coastal farmhouse vibe. So just using ivory and a chunky brush, maybe not that much distressing, but no worries. You get too much on there, just wipe off the excess with a baby wipe. And I always like to distress like in one direction like that. Give it that rustic coastal feel. And I think those are going to look really pretty against our red and white stripes on our sign. But first, I want to make them a little bit more durable. So I did have some polyacrylic, and I'm going to seal these really good. So these are going to hold up well out in my crazy Florida summer wet season weather. I have a tiny bit of a roof over my tiny porch area, but not much. So it is going to see some rain. And I do want to seal these just a little final touch to make sure that starfish pattern stays beautiful. I'm also going to distress our beautiful stripe since I didn't get to stain it like I wanted. I thought I could kind of get the same effect. But be careful, make sure your red stripes are dry before you distress because I was getting a little pink there. We're not messing this up again, girl. Okay, I think crisis averted. Just a little bit of distressing. Don't go wild. There you go. Much better. And we want this to last as well, so we're going to polyacrylic seal this one too. This is me 2 years in talking to a rookie crafter here, making this porch sitter board, but she did a great job. So just giving that a quick dry with my heat gun, and then we can start putting this together. Now, I wanted it to be a little bit bigger than the bed slats ended up being. And so I am going to frame it out a little bit with some wood that I actually just had laying around the garage just to kind of give it a larger feel, but totally optional. And look how cute our little letters look up against the stripes. Just trying to space them out evenly. And we're going to use some wood glue on these to attach these to our sign. Did have a little bit of bowing from the wood not being perfectly flush, but I think we're going to be able to work around that. Now, I do use a combination of hot glue and wood glue just for like a quick hold and a long-term hold combination. And that also helped me get rid of any bowing that I had there with the two boards. Now, I actually have a whole bunch of wood slats that I have now from an old bed that I just cut down for craft wood the other day because my husband was like, if you don't use this wood soon, you have to get rid of it. So I cut it down into little pieces, kind of like the craft wood you get at the Dollar Tree. Save me some coin, maybe. And then I am just gluing those down. I don't like to throw away anything wood that's in halfway decent condition because, hey, we can craft with it, right? So the final letter is way down here. Wood glue and hot glue, and we're going to put this together. It would have been totally fine just like this, but some of the letters like this A were a little bit larger than the two boards together. And so I didn't really want them hanging off the edges like that. I thought maybe we could frame it and make it just a little bit larger. And this is the wood that we had, just some trim pieces that I think maybe a Boy Scout project. My husband was really involved in Boy Scouts with my son, and they were always building stuff. And so I have it, right? I might as well use it. They're just little trim pieces, but I don't want to do any miter corners or anything crazy. I just want something easy and coastal. So that's what we're going to do. Trying to find, some halfway flat pieces of that and lining it up along the side of my porch sitter. And then I'm just going to cut it down to size. It's kind of hard to see because the sign is so big, but basically I'm just going from the top to the bottom with two pieces of wood, and then I'll do another piece of the scrap pieces from side to side. Just a very rustic, like farmhouse frame. Nothing special. But it did add another, I think, coastal touch because I'm just going to leave the wood unstained like that. I think it was a nice addition. I think it kind of framed it out a little bit. I liked it way better that way. So we have all four pieces cut down. And now we can just add that to our porch sitter sign and be done with this piece. And you can see what else we have for the front porch for 4th of July. Now, I thought about using the wood joiners for this, but I was having some issues with them. So I'm going to try some wood glue, hot glue. They're just little trim pieces, and I think that combination would be good just to glue these to the side of our little wood slats. And I'm going to do the same thing in the other, just trying not to mix the two different kinds of glue together. Probably would be easier to have done this before I had my letters on the front, but this project kind of evolved, which is okay. And then we can glue the top and bottom pieces on the same way. And in the end, I'm really happy with it. Now, since we have that fun starfish, design, because we're going coastal with this one, the final touches on this is going to be some Dollar Tree starfish. These are plastics. I think they'll hold up well outside. The hot glue, however, did not. So I would suggest using like maybe some E6000 on those because I did have to repair those. After, I think, my first year of displaying it. So this is going to be the 3rd year of my USA porch sitter. And I love it. I made it for the fraction of a cost that you could have bought this anywhere else. That is for sure.